Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carrie. This is where I talk about knitting, my tips, my tricks, my opinions, and my preferences. And when you first learn to knit, you're like, the most important tools that you can possibly have are knitting needles and yarn. And that's not untrue, but there's actually a really important tool that every knitter needs at least, actually I think at least need 3 of, and that is a crochet hook. Yes! Crochet hooks are super helpful as a knitter. They can be used for repairs. That's what they're most commonly known for knitters, but actually crochet hooks are handy for a whole host of reasons. You can use them for cast-ons, you can use them for bind-offs, you can use them to help finish the edging of a neckline or an armhole. They can be used for surface decorations. There's so many great things that a knitter can accomplish with some very basic crochet skills. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, give this video a thumbs up, and find out the 2 crochet skills I think every knitter needs to know. As we get started, actually 3 things I want to mention. 1, you might hear some noises in the background in today's video. My house is undergoing some renovation because of a recent flood that we had, and I'm trying to find quiet times to shoot, but sometimes this is as good as it gets. So if you hear some scraping noises in the background, that is repair work happening at my house. Also, down in the description box, as always, you will find timestamps to different parts of the video. I always hope that you'll watch through the video at least one time, because you never know what funny moment or tip or trick might be thrown in, but sometimes you gotta get to something specific, so time codes are down below. Also, in the description box, you will find a list of materials and resources that I think are useful or relevant to today's video. Some of these will have clearly marked affiliate links. If you choose to click on one of these links to do some shopping and you make a purchase, I might then make a small commission, and this really does help support my channel and what I do here. And it's kind of a win-win, because I hope, and I would only want you really to utilize one of my affiliate links if you're planning to do some shopping anyway. And it does help me buy materials for review, materials for demonstration, upgrade equipment, and everything that I get, whether it's through a super thanks or a Ko-fi or an affiliate link, does get reinvested back into the channel. So if you utilize any of these to help support my channel, thank you so much. It is so greatly appreciated. But most of all, I'm just really glad that you're here watching a video today. Okay. Whew, got through all that. Let's get on with the show. You can go out and buy pretty inexpensively a full set of crochet hooks, and then you have a crochet hook in any size you could ever possibly want. And you do not need to spend a lot of money on this, unless, of course, you are a more avid crocheter, in which case you probably know the skills already that I'm going to discuss. But if you're new to knitting, or you've just never really delved a lot into crochet, I wanted to give you a little bit of advice on what crochet hooks I think are really good for knitters to have. And I'm going to start with my favorite, and I think if you were going to get one crochet hook, or I should say one set of crochet hooks, the one that I would recommend getting is actually these. These are double-ended crochet hooks. These are advertised sometimes as repair hooks. And these are designed so that knitters can more easily repair dropped stitches and ladders when working in garter stitch. And they're great for that. But what I really like about having double-ended crochet hooks like this is they usually come in 3 sizes. They come in a small, a medium, and a large. And this is appropriate for lighter weight yarns, medium weight yarns, and chunkier yarns. And really, I feel like these 3 crochet hooks cover me in almost any situation where I need a crochet hook. This particular set is by Boy, and what I like about these Boy ones is that they are longer than some of the other double-ended repair crochet hooks that I find. So I find that they're more useful for more things that I do in knitting. But if you didn't want plastic, you could also get yourself 3 double-ended Tunisian crochet hooks. You can find these in bamboo, often at the big box stores from Clover, and you could just get one in a size 6.5 millimeter, one in a size 5 millimeter, and then one in a smaller millimeter, like a 3 millimeter or 3.5 millimeter double-ended Tunisian crochet hook, and you would have the same thing as this set. So it's really kind of up to you in terms of your preferences. Something else you might want to consider, just gonna throw this out there. If you are like me and you work a lot with interchangeable needles, you may want to consider getting yourself a set of interchangeable crochet hooks. Addie sells this set of interchangeable crochet hooks that fit on their interchangeable needle set. They consider this a supplement to their needles, although if you do Tunisian crochet and one of these hooks were the correct size, you could absolutely use this with Tunisian crochet as well. But the reason I really like having these crochet hooks from Addie is that if I want to pick up a lot of stitches, say along a button band, I can actually very easily do that with a crochet hook. I just attach it onto my cord, pick up my stitches. When all my stitches are picked up, I take off the crochet hook and I put on the needle. And it makes picking up and knitting stitches, I think, way easier with a crochet hook than sometimes it is with a knitting needle. So this is a really nice set to have. If you don't have Addie, all of the other major needle brands, Chiagu, Haya, Knitter's Pride, Knit Picks, they all have these sorts of interchangeable crochet hooks that fit onto their cable, and you could buy a full set of them, or you could just purchase 2 or 3 of these interchangeable crochet hooks so you had them on hand for your kind of as a supplement to your knitting needles. When you learn how to crochet, the very first thing that you learn how to do is what's called chain stitch, and this is actually the very first skill that I think any knitter needs to learn from crochet as well. And the benefit of crochet chain is once you get it, it's very quick to do. When I first learned how to knit, I would start off as a thrower, carrying the yarn in my right hand, and when I then went to go learn crochet, it was incredibly awkward. It was so awkward to get comfortable with having the yarn in my left hand. But like anything, it comes down to patience, practice, and persistence. So yeah, just doing chain stitches over and over again is a great way to build up your muscle memory for like later crochet skills. So this is a worsted weighted yarn, so I'm going to use my medium-sized crochet hook. Medium weighted yarn, medium-sized crochet hook. And the way that almost anything with crochet starts is with a slip knot. And I just put it on the end of my crochet hook, thusly. So the way that I tension my yarn is very similar to how I tension my yarn for continental knitting. So if you are a picker, you're gonna feel very comfortable with how to do this. So I like to take my working yarn, wrap it around my pinky, and then I bring it over my forefinger, and then I pinch that slip knot with my thumb and my middle finger. So now that I'm set up, all you do is you take your crochet hook, you bring it underneath the yarn, grab the yarn, and pull it through that loop, and that's your first chain stitch. Let's look at it in slow motion. I bring the crochet hook underneath the yarn, yarn over, pull the yarn through the loop on my crochet hook. And if you went, wow, that's really easy, that's because it really is once you get used to the motion. But yeah, you just do that over and over again. And if you look at it vertically, they kind of look like knit stitches, right? On this side, you got your little V's there. Now, what can you do with a crochet chain though as a knitter? Well, you can, with a crochet chain like this, do a provisional cast on. And I actually showed how this worked in a Knitting Secrets Revealed video, the upside down stitches, which I will link up here and down in the description below. But also keep your eye out for a future video that I'm going to dedicate to provisional cast-ons. The first foundational skill in crochet is the crochet chain stitch. The second one is the slip stitch. And the slip stitch, I think, is even more valuable, more useful in knitting than the chain stitch. For example, here I have a jumper that I made for my daughter when she was first born. And the way that I finished the edge of the neckline and the armholes was with crochet slip stitch. So it was a really nice way to finish this off, this neckline off, and not have to like pick up a lot of stitches and do a lot of like, you know, knitting the neckline around. This can be kind of a fun, quick, easy way to finish like a neckline like this, where you're not necessarily going to be putting in ribbing or something like you would with a button band. And the nice thing too with this sort of a crochet finish to a neckline or to armholes is there's not as much flexibility in the crocheted edge. So if you're at all worried about a neckline stretching out of shape or armholes stretching out of shape, a crochet finish can kind of help keep that from happening. So for slip stitches, it's very simple in how it's done. I'm going to start off by doing another slip chain like I did at the beginning of the video. So I have something to work into. And notice again on the slip chain, I've got these V's that look like knit stitches, but on the back, I have these bumps. And we're going to work into those bumps. So there's a loop of yarn on my crochet hook. I'm going to take my crochet hook and I'm going to put it underneath the bump on the back of my chain. Yarn over, pull the yarn through underneath that bump, and then pull the yarn through the loop on my crochet hook. And that's my first slip stitch. Let's look again in slow motion. I take the crochet hook and I put it underneath the bump that is on that crochet chain, yarn over, pull the yarn through the bump on the crochet chain, and then I pull the yarn through the loop on my crochet hook. Once you've really got this down, it really becomes one motion where you put your crochet hook through, yarn over, pull through the two loops on your crochet hook. And here we are at the end, and I now have done a slip stitch chain. All right, so let's take a look at how we would actually utilize a slip stitch with knitting. So here I have a very typical bit of stockinette swatch curling up, but what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a slip stitch chain along the edge so that you can see how this is done. So again, medium weight yarn, medium weight crochet hook, and I'm going to start with a slip knot because you need to start with a loop of yarn on your hook to do this. And I'm going to hold the yarn so it's kind of to the back of the work. So here's the edge of the swatch, and you can see these V's, and those are the edge stitches. Now you have to decide where you want to work into. You can work under both legs of those V's. You can work under the front leg.
or you can work into the back leg. The important thing is to be consistent. I like to work into the back leg of the stitch when I do this. So I'm going to insert my crochet hook into that back leg, yarn over, pull the yarn through the leg, and then pull the yarn through the loop on my crochet hook. And I've done my first slip stitch.
And then I repeat that process.
I put my hook underneath the back leg, yarn over, pull the yarn through, then pull the yarn through the loop on my crochet hook.
And then, and this is always important with crochet, just like in knitting where the knitting needle sizes the stitch, in crochet, the crochet hook sizes the stitch. So you just want to make sure that you bring the stitch onto the full width of the barrel of the crochet hook so that you size it. Now, I think I'm going to skip a stitch. Just go ahead and skip a stitch and go into the next one. And it's something that if you're going to use this technique, you have to use some judgment in terms of how many crochet stitches to work, because there's going to be a slight difference in the tension between the two. But what you want is you want the stitches to lay nice and flat. If the fabric looks like it's pulling in, then you don't have enough slip stitch changes along the edge, and it's the chain is pulling at the fabric. If you're getting ruffling, then that's too many stitches and you need fewer. Okay, like I just did this vertical edge, but let's say I wanted to work around the entire edge. You can do that. The thing is, when you get to the corner, and this is true whenever you're kind of doing edge work, whether you're doing an applied border with knitting or you're using a crochet hook, when you get to the corner, you're kind of doing a round shape. Think of it as a circle, right? And then a circle, you have the inside of the diameter of the circle and the outside. And the inside is actually a shorter distance from the outside, right? And so you have to actually create more stitches along the corner so that the stitches come around the corner in a nice curve and it keeps the fabric nice and open. So normally like 3 stitches will do it, but I'm gonna come here into this corner, and
right here is sort of the first stitch of my cast on edge. So I'm gonna work at least 3 slip stitches into that space. So bring my crochet hook in, do a slip stitch, do my second slip stitch, and do my third slip stitch. Once that's done, I can kind of look at it and go, okay, is that rounding the corner nicely? Is the tension good? And if so, I can continue on with doing my slip stitches along the cast on edge.
And again, it's a little bit of a judgment call. Usually like you want at least 3 stitches in a corner, but sometimes you need 4 or 5 stitches, and it's a little bit of a judgment. And you have to kind of look at it and go, okay, is that nicely rounding the corner? Or do things look like they're too scrunched up and too tight? Or does it look like I'm getting ruffling in the chain around that corner? Then I probably have too many stitches. Now I'm at here my cast on edge, and for this cast on I actually utilized the a long tail cast on. So on a long tail cast on, there are these slants and they're to the back of my work, and then I have these purl bumps. So I'm going to work underneath my purl bump like this and do a slip stitch chain along there.
Stop here for a second so you can start to see what this edge is looking like. It's a little tricky because this is a stockinette fabric and it is curling, and a slip stitch isn't going to be enough to take out that curl. Although, if I were to block this, everything would lay out very nicely and I would have this nice decorative contrast edge along my work. So you can utilize this for various projects when you want to add a little border to what you're doing.
I have most often used slip stitch chain as a decorative edge to a finished knitted piece, but you can also use it as a surface decoration.
A friend of the channel, Jillian Eve, in fact, designed a hat a couple of years ago utilizing slip stitch crochet for surface embellishment, and I will link to her pattern down in the description box and to a video where she discussed utilizing that technique.
And I will have a playlist down in the description box and up here that links to some other videos that go into this a little bit more than what I am doing today. Really, I just wanted to give you an idea of what this skill can be for you as a knitter. So I think those are the two crochet skills that every knitter needs to know, the chain stitch and the slip stitch. And if you want to learn more skills as a knitter to be able to apply to your knitting, these are the two skills that are really the foundation for being able to learn how to do single crochet, also known as double crochet in the UK, and that can be really handy as a knitter to know because you could also use that to finish off edgings. But being comfortable with a crochet hook as a knitter, I think, is really useful. Whether it's you're wanting to do a repair, a cast on, a bind off. I have a video on how I use a crochet hook to do a chained bind off. I will link that up here as well. But being comfortable with a crochet hook is really handy as a knitter, and I really encourage you, if you have not embraced utilizing a crochet hook as a knitter, I think now is a great time to build up that muscle memory. So that is it. I would love to hear from you. How do you, as a knitter, utilize a crochet hook? Have you utilized any of these techniques? What are ways that you like to use a crochet hook or crochet techniques in your knitting? I'd love to hear about it down in the comments below. And if you have any questions for me, as always, please feel free to ask. I love being able to exchange information and help each other out. That's one of the great things about having a vibrant online knitting, crochet, fiber community. I hope that you found today's video helpful and enjoyable. If so, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your other knitting friends. Liking videos, sharing videos, commenting on videos are all great ways to let YouTube know that this is a space worth checking out, and that helps other people discover this, and we can all help grow this community together. I've been really have had a great time these last 2 years connecting with all of y'all, and your presence in my life has meant so much to me, and I hope that this has been a fun, informative space for you as well. If you have not already, please make sure that you are subscribed and that you hit the notification bell. Hitting the notification bell will let you know whenever I upload a new video or start a live stream. Thank you so much again for joining me. I hope that you have a wonderful day, evening, weekend, weeknight, whenever you may be watching this. And as always, happy health and happy making. Bye. And most importantly, if you're not used to the stitch, but it's good to know the chain stitch because that sets you up for learning how to do the, excuse me. Yeah, doing a little dance. Try and keep things loose. Gotta keep it loose. Gotta feel good about what, gonna have a good video today.